Alrighty, well, I already know you are going to be obsessed with this episode because this is one of my most highly requested episodes, and it's going to be all about how to create a signature style series. And when I got this request, I knew exactly who I wanted to be on to talk about signature style series. And if you're new and you don't know what a signature style series is, it is basically original style content that you can repeat over and over and over again. Essentially content that you can be known for. So today I have a very special guest with me who is the queen of signature style series. Okay, she has one of my favorite multiple series actually on TikTok. She has grown to almost 400K on TikTok, 100K on Instagram. She put me on solid core, now one of my favorite workouts in the whole world. And I'm just so excited to have her here. So Jules, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to have you here again. Like when people were asking me to do a breakdown, I mean, I've already done multiple breakdowns on TikTok about this, but I just thought I need to have you one-on-one to like break it all down, because with how social media is changing, who knows what's happening to TikTok. You know, Instagram is probably going to be introducing a 3-minute feature at some point. I think they already have. Original style content is the way to go. So I'm so excited to be talking to you about this. So obviously in this episode, we're going to dive into signature style series, but also I want the tea from you personally on building a personal brand, specifically as a lifestyle creator, because everybody wants to be a lifestyle creator. I feel like that is the goal for so many people, like film my life and everyone is just going to eat it up. But as we'll talk about here, there's so much that goes into that, and there's so much care and thought that goes into being a lifestyle creator, and it's so obvious from your videos, and that's why I enjoy them so much. And every single time you post, I'm like, oh, stop, what's she doing? What's she up to today? So I'm just going to shut up and I'm just going to let you take the floor. So let's talk about signature style series. So the first one that I remember from you is high maintenance to be low maintenance. And you have so many afterwards. So what is your process in creating a standout, memorable signature style series? Like what goes into it, inspo? How do you even know if an idea is going to hit or if it's worth it? Like just give me a little sneak peek inside of your brain.
Yeah, so I totally agree. Everyone wants to be a lifestyle creator, and with good reason, because it gives you the flexibility to share whatever you want to share. And it also has the most fun community feel, in my opinion. When you're doing lifestyle content and people are into it, you actually feel like you're turning on the camera and talking to your friends every day, which is the goal. It's the dream. But the mistake I think a lot of people make is jumping right into that without giving people a reason to get interested in the beginning. So you need to find a way to bring people value. So the way I usually think about it is where I always start is, what is my dream platform, my dream outcome? And I can usually think of a few different creators whose content I love and whose platforms I really admire. And like, I want to be like them. I would love to have their audience. And then I think about, okay, who am I speaking to? And I think the easiest thing and the most fun thing for most people is to speak to yourself or like people who you are friends with in real life. And so then think about those people's pain points. And that's always easy because it's your own pain points. So I think for myself, I'm like, okay, well, dating and love, relationships, that's always a really fun and really emotional one. It's a really good way to connect with people emotionally. And then just think about like anything else in your life. Maybe you're figuring it out career-wise. You want to take better care of your health. You want to dress cuter. Anything like that can be like your anchor or your hook, like the way you get people interested initially. Bring people value through your content and then share your personality as you go, like within that content.
Totally. And I love that you mentioned that, you know, when you're talking to yourself on camera, which I feel like a lot of people have an issue with, like they're like, I'm hilarious in person, like I got it going on in person, and then as soon as they hit record, the personality evaporates. And I love that you talked about, okay, well, if I don't have someone talking back to me, I'm almost talking to a younger version of myself, a different version of myself, and it's all in that humanized perspective. And I love that you mentioned that really influences your hooks, because we all know, especially with original style content, everyone's like, what's the hook, or get a better hook, or reel people in the first 3 seconds. And it's like, okay, well, how do I do that? Well, you need to be talking to real people. What are they currently experiencing? What do they want? What are they going through? And like, where do you fit? And that to me is creating valuable content. It's not, okay, I need to educate them. It's like, well, where are they coming from and how do you fit in? So I love that you mentioned that. Already so many good things. So let's specifically talk about the first series, High Maintenance to be Low Maintenance, because let me tell you, I was so incredibly addicted to this. And when I did my video about you and I dissected bit by bit every single second of it, I was like, no, it's perfect. Like, there's nothing I would change. One, because of the topic, the effort that you put in, which we will get into that later. Okay, being a lifestyle creator doesn't mean you're just sitting on your couch all the time.
It's a high effort series.
You're like having to do something, but also your editing and the structure was the same every single time, and I could tell that you put so much care into it. So I'm gonna shut up. What? How did that even come about? Like, why even do it?
Yeah.
What was that like?
That one was kind of accidental. So I had someone who did broadcast journalism, like a newscaster, tell me, instead of presenting to an audience, presenting to you guys, like an imaginary group of people, think about your best friend being behind the camera and talk to that one person. Because it comes off so much more authentic and relaxed when you're like on FaceTime with one person. So that was the approach I was trying to switch to at the time. And I wanted to do more lifestyle content. And I honestly just went to get my nails done. I was getting a quote unquote Russian manicure, like a dry e-file manicure. I'd never had one before. And the girl was just doing beautiful work. And I was like, do you mind if I get a few clips? I make content. And she was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So then when I was leaving the salon, I just like flipped around my camera and I was trying to force myself to be less of a textbook, as you say. And I was like, just say this like you would say it to a friend that you're telling about this manicure. And I was like, hear me out, high maintenance to be low maintenance, the Russian manicure. And I just explained that it takes a little bit longer. It's like a 2 or 3 hour manicure, but it lasts you all month. And I feel like a lot of people have that as a pain point. They'd rather just like get it out of the way once than have to go to multiple appointments.
Oh my gosh, totally.
Yeah. And then it just blew up. I think it got maybe, the first one got like 1 million views.
Easy.
And then
a little easy million.
But like out of nowhere, I was not doing lifestyle content. So I ended up like turning this into a whole series with my nail girl. And then I worked in some other things too, because people would ask about like best hair salons and best workout classes. And it just grew from there. Totally. But I have a critique for the series personally.
Okay, roasting yourself.
One thing I learned was I was too informational through the series. I worked really hard and I always wanted to highlight the businesses, especially once... Like I usually didn't ask for a service for free ever, but if it went well, they would say I could come back for free.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Which was awesome. But then, because I wanted to be authentic, like I wanted to pick a place I actually wanted to go to. But then I knew if I was doing the content for free after that, I wanted to make sure that it had like an impact marketing wise.
Totally. So
I would really go into detail and like highlight the experience and make sure that like the artist was showcased.
Totally.
And there was zero of my personality in it. And it was just like, it was a fun experience, but it was a lot of work for having none of my personality showcased. And so my following didn't grow a lot from it, even though the series was huge.
Totally. And now looking back, I definitely saw it as like kind of mini commercials every single time I watched it. But that makes sense because you have a marketing background.
Yeah.
So that totally makes sense. And I think after that was over and you did other series, I saw your personality come through a little bit more, but also I was stalking you on stories. So I got more of you, but yes, you're so right. It was really informational. And one thing that you talked about is it was a lot of work. And if you haven't seen this series, watch it because it really is like the coolest commercial ever for all of these businesses, which is awesome. But can you walk through like the work, the editing, the filming, like what was easy, what was hard? Because you were doing transitions in these, you were doing like you were capturing a lot of content. So yeah, what was that like? Was there some parts that were easy and some parts that were like, okay, this is a lot?
Honestly, the editing was the hardest part. It just took a long time. I learned and I got a lot quicker as I went. I just figured out a process. In the beginning, I wasn't sure like the order in which to do like voiceover and whatever. I realized you could do voiceover in a lot of different clips, line it up, make sure you like the voiceover, and then adjust the length of the clips after. Versus the other way around, which is how I started. In the beginning, I was trimming down my footage and then trying to voice over to like fit the footage.
Oh, so you do it the opposite now.
Yeah. Well, for those anyway, when I like knew what I wanted to say about the experience, and then I was like, I can adjust the length to fit. So when I'm talking about how she does my cuticles, I can make that cuticle part like align with my voiceover.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is actually such a help. Write that down. This is actually such a helpful tip, because I feel like a lot of creators that do voiceovers, because they are looking at the visual while they're doing the voiceover, they end up just saying what's happening as opposed to, well, what's the message behind it?
They can see what's happening.
Exactly. Like, what's the context? What's the message? Instead of just being like, okay, this is what I did. And it's like, yeah, we can see that. So again, write that down. That's a good tip. Okay. So now we're going to kind of shift out of Signature Style Series and go into being a lifestyle creator. So with this series, you really made your life super interesting for people to watch, because you were doing what the OG influencers do. Influencers do things so that we don't do it and we just watch them do it. So when it comes to being a lifestyle creator, how do you go about looking at your life and saying what is worth it to film and what is not?
I'm still figuring that out, honestly. The hard part is there are so many things that I want to include and like share with my audience and bring people along for. But my line is I'll share anything and everything about me. I won't share things about other people.
Totally.
Unless it's like friends or creator friends who are down to be in the content.
Totally.
I'm never just gonna like ambush people and be like, oh, we're out to dinner, watch, I'm getting my clips, smile.
Totally. Yeah.
So that like limits, I guess, what I do a little bit.
Yeah.
I love taking people along for a good morning routine, because that's just like all me, and it's always like a good time to connect, I guess, with my audience. But I think, and I have heard you talk about this a little bit, it's really good to know like, okay, this is stuff that I'm going to make content out of, and this is stuff that is just going to be my life. And what I love about the way that I do the voiceovers and everything now is I can talk about whatever I want and like use whatever clips I happen to have without having to like film all the time. Like I can come back the next day and say, oh, I went on a date last night. This is how it went.
Totally. Yes. And I do notice that in your content, you will reuse and repurpose clips, and people are so afraid to reuse and repurpose old clips as if it's like a sin to like use something old, like, oh, I have to get something new, and like we forget. And if it's like a good clip of you, we're like, why would you not reuse it? Like if you like that clip of you, reuse it multiple times. But again, that all comes down to, especially if you're doing a voiceover piece of content, it's the messaging of the voiceover that really matters, not even necessarily like the clips or the clips having to be new. Do you ever get stuck in my life is too boring, or that's too boring to post about? Like, what do you do? Because that's like one of the number one struggles I feel like a lot of creators have. Like, oh, this is too boring. Who's going to care about this? Who's going to care about my morning routine, or that I went for a run? Like, how do you go about making the mundane or boring filmable?
I don't know. Who said this? Was it Ernest Hemingway?
Oh.
It was something about...
She's a scholar.
It's like every story, I'm going to totally butcher it, but it's basically like any story is good if it's true. Where it's like if you're just actually speaking from your personal experience and emotions, like you're never the only person with a thought or a feeling.
Totally.
So if you are going to do a little morning workout vlog or a morning walk, instead of being like, oh, I'm on my hot girl stuff and I'm trying to get my steps in, like be real. Be like, I am trying to be in a better place with how I move my body and my relationship with food, or talk about, you know, maybe during one of your workout vlogs, you're like, I feel terrible today. I woke up feeling horrible, but I just like dragged myself because it's really good for my mental health. Just get a little bit more real with your audience and like the reasons you're doing stuff.
Totally.
I feel like I've trailed off.
That's okay. No, I love that. And I think everybody talks about, oh, create storytelling content, but this truly is the storytelling content, and how to create good storytelling content is tell real stories. And a really good story isn't necessarily what is going on. It's not just the what, it's not the events, it's why. So, and that's what you do so well is you start with, why are you doing this? It's not just, oh, I'm on my hot girl walk or I'm doing this workout. Well, why are you doing it? Starting there. And then the what is just the context. The what is the context that supports the why.
Yeah, I think too, and I'm remembering one of the things I wanted to say. You have to think about why you like other stories, and that'll help you with framing your own. Like, it's not that your life isn't interesting, although consider yourself as the main character if the content is centering on you, and think about like what you would be cheering for the main character to do if you were reading a book or watching a movie.
Totally.
And never do those things. And I feel like this honestly just like translates into living a better life for yourself. Don't do stuff just for the camera, but just make sure that you're being a main character that you personally would like.
Yeah.
And when I think about what I love about books and movies and TV series, I personally always just get attached to like a main love story, maybe like a friendship. There are storylines and common threads and like things that everyone has that they can include in the content. That is always what matters. Like, what did I watch? Like Spinning Out, I guess, maybe a couple months ago. And it was all like figure skating stuff, whatever. I have no reason to care at all about figure skating, but I was like in it for this girl's mental health journey and her like relationships.
Totally. And that's so true. Like, if you think about the movies and the TV shows we watch and even the characters that we watch, it's usually not the perfect characters. It's usually the ones that are actually aggravating or vulnerable or imperfect, because that's what's so relatable. And especially now that maybe there's going to be an influx of creators going to Instagram, people think that Instagram is like the place to be super perfect and polished and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's social media, and humans are the ones that are using social media. So when you're creating your storytelling content, don't be afraid to show the relatability, the vulnerableness. Like, you will be more attractive to us in that way if it's not perfect. Like, I don't know. I can't even remember a perfect character that I like, because the reality is that I won't remember them.
Well, they would have no vulnerabilities and you wouldn't form an emotional connection to them, and there'd be no reason to like care about them or root for them.
Exactly.
Like, you need the actual story. But to your point about like being unpolished, I think we want unpolished like storylines and people, but we will always care about aesthetics.
Totally.
To an extent.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Lighting, background, the way you dress, the way you show up on camera. And that annoyed me for a long time. I was like, I don't want to have to get ready just for my content. But then I'm like, okay, it's like a reflection of you, and you have to get ready for any job. I mean, you don't, I guess, but like you kind of do. Like, the way that you present matters to people. And I also just saw something really interesting. God, I'm going to forget who posted it, but I have the clip saved if we want to credit her later.
Perfect.
Can I swear on here?
Yeah. Do what you need to do. Do whatever you want.
She was like, the way to get people to connect you and be invested in your stories is they need to either want to be you, be friends with you, or fuck you.
You know?
And I was like, that's kind of real.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
So the be friends with you is like usually the ideal for the girlies lifestyle creator.
Relatable forward.
Totally. Or like, if they want to be you, then maybe you're aspirational. Maybe you are really on it with your workout routine or like career or whatever. And then the last one's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Like, I think
everyone's going to love hot people. Like, everyone, always.
There's obviously privilege in that.
Totally. Oh my gosh, love. So many things. I hope you write that down. Write so many things down, honestly. Okay, so on the topic of being a lifestyle creator, I think you truly embody a lifestyle creator. Like, yes, you post about fitness, and yes, you post about like dating and whatever, but I feel like you're at a place where you can post a lot of different topics that maybe aren't related to one another, and you truly are the through line of your content, and that's why I'm obsessed. But it was not always like this. So here's everyone's biggest fear: if I niche down too much, I'm screwed. You were niched down in a very different niche before, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about pivoting niches, your experience with that, the good, the bad, the ugly. I mean, it's good now, so you can really, really spill the tea there.
It's honestly just you have to get people hooked on a story, and you have to get better at storytelling. And to your point about having vulnerabilities, that's like the number one biggest way to get people to be more forgiving or whatever. If you talk to them about, this is the type of content I was making, or this is what I was doing with my life, and I decided to switch. You think you're the only person who wants to change their mind or like switch what they're doing? That in itself is relatable. So I think you just need to get good at storytelling, and that gives you that freedom. It's really scary to like get real about the stuff you talk about and how you connect with your audience.
Totally. Yeah. So can you talk about your past content and how it relates to your content now, or maybe how it doesn't relate at all?
Totally. There have been evolutions. So I did somewhat similar to your type of content, where it was very like marketing. I would analyze the way that other creators made content. I've had a fascination with creators since, I mean, probably when YouTube got popular, like when I was a little kid. And I had many failed YouTube channels, many failed Instagrams. And then when TikTok came along, I happened to be selling sweatpants. I was doing e-commerce.
Yes, I remember. I was actually there day one. I was like, who is this girl with the gorgeous hair slamming the table and going so close to the camera every single time I saw you? I mean, you got the hook. You got the visual. I was like, okay, she always has good hair. She was like, this is how you go viral. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but why is she not talking about her hair? Anyway, I digress. Please continue.
Totally. But that's like, so I was selling those sweats, and I had gifted them to a bunch of Instagram influencers who I had just followed for years. And I was like, I think you would reach my target audience. Gifted them. No paid collabs or anything. I had zero budget. And then they would post about them on their stories or wear them. And then they would just like tag me when they got asked about them. I had one girl specifically post, she posted a TikTok in the sweats, and I didn't even have TikTok yet. This was like early 2020. And she DM'd me on Instagram, and she was like, this TikTok it's on the For You page.
What's that?
I know. I'm like, oh. And she's like, yeah, it's going viral, and everyone's asking me where to get these sweats. You should make a TikTok so you can at least just like link it, or they know like where to go to buy them. And so I made a TikTok for that reason, just to send people. And then her one TikTok drove like $5,000 a day in sales for like a week.
Wow.
Crazy. It was just like completely organic, gifted, like. And at the time, there weren't a lot of people making content on TikTok, but everyone was starting to get the app. And so there was just like crazy viral potential. And I started talking about that. And I was like, people need to be taking advantage of TikTok. All you need to do is you have to have good lighting. You have to like have good hooks. And I started studying the content that would do well. And then I would tell people about it. Like I was putting stuff into spreadsheets and being like, this is what works. This is how, I don't know. And that was really cool. I connected with a lot of cool people. I met so many cool founders and just like people who needed that marketing content. But the content, I was a textbook. As you say, I was always just bringing information. And from the same location. I was still living in Michigan. I was filming in my parents' basement. And I bought off Amazon basically like a big white bed sheet and like a ring light.
Yes.
A couple little extra lights for the sides. And then I would just go down there and film like 5 or 6 videos on marketing. I would break down other creators' strategies. And then I literally was posting 4 to 6 times a day for a couple months. And I was just like mind blown the first time one of my videos went viral. Maybe I did it for a few weeks and then something caught. I woke up and my phone screen was just notifications. And I just never, and I had all my social notifications on at the time because I had never like been a creator.
Oh yeah, sure. You're like, yeah, why would I not have my notifications on?
I'm like, what? And then I was looking at the people who were following me, and there were people that I was like fans of. I'm like, this is crazy.
Oh my gosh. So you did what the smartest creators did at that time, was like pump out all this content before anybody else gets on this app.
Yeah. I remember seeing like a Gary Vee video, and I don't
love him.
He has some good takes, but his content is typically not super my style. But I did see one video where he was like, people are missing a huge opportunity with TikTok right now. Pump out content. It doesn't have to be quality. You just have to show up because no one else is here. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm just going to like pump out a ton of content and see what happens. And every week I would have at least one video that was like in the millions.
Wow.
It was nuts because there was just no content on the app.
Totally. Yeah.
So I wish that I switched to lifestyle earlier because anyone who got in at that time doing lifestyle content had just a crazy advantage.
110%. And I was one of the dumb ones that waited too long. I was on Instagram for a year before just being so annoying about. I'm like, TikTok is for weird dances, and
everyone thought it was a kids app.
Yeah, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And all the people in my space, including yourself, that was smarter than me, got so much visibility, so much virality, made obviously sales too. And that's just really the power of just doing it messy, you know? So that's something that you did really well. But then obviously you didn't stay in the marketing space forever. So that transition period, and I watched it, you guys, let me tell you, I'm obsessed with her. I watched this happen where you started doing daily vlogs, morning routines, stuff like that. And I even remember a very specific story that you posted, and you said, every time I post vlogs, people hate me. I was like, oh my gosh, she's doing it. Like she's doing something that everybody is so scared to do. And I was really just watching and seeing like, when is this gonna happen? Like, what is she gonna do? So can you talk about that transition period where you were like, okay, I think I'm done with this and I'm going to move on?
Yeah. So, I mean, I wanted to transition out of it for a little bit. And when I moved to New York, I started to post a little bit more content about my life. But really my content was so informational. And so that is what people were there for. And I think that you can incorporate your personality in any content that you make, but I do think there are some niches that make it easier to cross over.
Totally.
So when you're choosing the niche, the way in which you want to bring people value, I would just think about what is going to make it easiest to incorporate your personality. So think about ways that you could bring people value, and then from that, choose the ones that you're interested in. And then from that, choose the ones that would make it easier for you to create content to include your personality. Beauty is always a good one. Fitness, fashion, those are always, like, people just always want to know more about you from those niches.
Totally.
And I love all those things. So I started with beauty because I was like, would just be I've always loved beauty creators. And I think that those three niches can all cross over too. If you do any one of them, people are interested in the others. So that's also cool. Beauty was pretty good for me. But I fell in love with vlogging. This is going to sound like the cheesiest influencer thing to say ever. But last year, one of my really good friends brought me as her +1 to Revolve Fest at Coachella.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. And you looked so good. I was like, look at her. She did it. She did it. She made it. She's at Revolve Fest.
Oh, my God. California has always been, like, I've always just vibed the content making better here. But
100%.
What like freed me up at that was everyone was making content. Everything was beautiful and set up for content. You're in the desert in the sun and like everyone's dressed up and it's just like dazzling. So it's easy to make cool content. But what was the biggest thing for me was everyone was making it. And so I wasn't embarrassed to flip around my camera and hold up my phone and use my tripod and like all these things that are so awkward to do in person, which like I have a bone to pick with everyone who makes fun of or stares at that. I want to see your screen time because where do you think that content is coming from?
Right.
I know it's entertaining you like 5 hours a day.
Right.
So you see someone in public with a tripod and you're like, ugh.
You're like, bestie, anything for the shot. You know, anything for the shot. I remember actually the first time Jules and I met in person was at the Stand event. And we were very good participants. We listened, we celebrated, and the rest of the time we took pictures of one another.
That's
it was like
for.
Instantly. It was like, oh, okay, we're going to take the pictures. Like, it is what it is. So totally agree with you there. But yeah, your journey and that transition over to e-commerce, having so much success there, and then marketing, and then transitioning over into lifestyle. So what would you say is like your key pillars or topics that you're really enjoying right now with your content?
Definitely wellness. That's like an easy one for me to make content around because I have a wellness routine. I like to try and work out every day, and people are into that. Everyone wants to feel good.
Totally. Love.
And then Beauty, honestly, like sneaks in. But I think you can do beauty in ways people don't typically think. Like you don't have to be doing a full face and a like whole get ready with me. That's what I found out when I did high maintenance to be low maintenance. I'm like, there's a whole group of people who want to like look cute and they want like the tricks, they want the products, but they aren't going to do a full face every day.
Yeah, totally.
So that was freeing for me because I grew up seeing all the like 2010s beauty YouTubers and I thought that
Full
that
glam.
was the only way to do beauty.
Yeah, totally.
So I definitely have beauty as a pillar. And then the last one would probably be like the dating, love, relationships.
Which
stuff.
I'm so excited for more. Everybody wants more of it.
That's another one I didn't want to do because I was like, I don't want to talk about the people that I'm dating. That's so unfair.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the personal boundaries. I mean, let's get into that one because that's also, I think, a struggle a lot of people have. Because the reality is, if you want to be a lifestyle creator or even just anyone with any sort of community, you have to get at least one step deeper. Like you don't have to overshare. I always say to my audience and to my community, my clients, like you don't have to overshare anything. There are some things that are between you and your partner, you and your family, you and God, like that's fine. But to just stay surface level with everything, you're going to have a surface level community.
Yeah.
So what is that like to you to just get that like one step deeper without being like, okay, here's full on Alex Earl mode?
Totally. I mean, what I've noticed from like myself as a consumer and from how other people interact with my content, the thing you care the most about is like the feeling, the emotion, the experience. And so you don't necessarily, I mean, people do love tea. If you can include other people in your content, that's always a bonus, which is why it's always fun to have creator friends because everyone's down to like get in each other's content. But if you want to talk about dating or relationships or just like your mental health or whatever you're going through, like anything that's more personal, it can just be about you and how you experienced it. I saw someone say Emma Chamberlain is the most private public person.
Yes.
And
she
I
does
think
it so well.
Yeah. If you listen to her podcast now or even watch her vlogs, she talks all the time about how she's thinking and feeling and what she's going through and relates it to real everyday experiences without ever, spilling about the people that are in her life.
Totally. And I think a way to kind of frame this in your mind, if you're listening right now, is focusing on the lesson, the feeling, the experience over too much about the what. It's the why and the how. Okay, so moving on, because I have 10 million questions to ask you and we're going to be here for 20 days. But when it comes to creators, who are your favorite creators that you're just like, they got a chokehold on me?
Yeah. No, I have a few people who I'm just like obsessed with. Mata Gravier.
Okay.
If you've seen her content.
I have.
I love her content. I just think she is another one who does a great job with that, where she's not like, she's never dishing on the people who are in her life. And she has a son, but she, I think, does a really great job of not exploiting him for content, even though she will talk about her experiences as a mom and the way that she is thinking and feeling. That's just like the perfect way to share, because I feel like I know her and I get a lot of her personality without feeling like she's exploiting anyone else in her life, which I think is cool. She also just has a cool vibe, a cool aesthetic, everything in her house, the way she dresses, like it's all just very,
aesthetics are important. Cool. Okay.
And not in a perfect way, but like I like her taste way.
Not in a perfect way, just in like, oh wow, that's a vibe, it catches my eye. So many people forget like social media is a visual platform,
right?
It's the aesthetics matter, period. Okay. Anyone else that you...
Anna. Oh, what is her last name? She had a viral video or a few viral videos for her unrelated New York City grandma.
Oh, yes. I think I know what you're talking about. I think I know what you're talking about.
I can't think of her last name. I know her name is Anna, but I see her content every single day and I'm always saving it. Another situation where I love her vibe. Her style is super cute. The way she's decorating her room is super cute. And she shares a lot of like personal experiences and she vlogs pretty much every day. Love her little fit checks, and they're always like, but they're not, she's a good example of not just telling people what they're already seeing. Yes. She's not like, here are my pants, here's my shirt. She's talking about how she's feeling, giving a little life update during her fit check.
Yeah. See, you can blend in you know, your lifestyle and your personality within anything. So yeah, maybe the topic or the main idea of the video was a fit check, but again, we've seen so many and we can see where your pants are from and you can give us the links and that's fine. But the way to add in your personality is just like what you said, like you can blend things together. It doesn't have to be so compartmentalized. So I love that. On the topic of community building, the bestie vibes, which I feel like you have taken to a whole nother level. Like now it's in real life and not just on socials, which I don't see from a lot of influencers. I see maybe more people like me, business owners, taking what they're doing and doing it in real life, whether that's conferences, events, things like that. But I don't really see influencers doing what you're doing. So can you talk about the Running Late Club and what inspired you to be like, okay, I have this community online of girls. Let's do something in person. And I'm going to do it and hopefully they show up.
Totally. When I did the marketing content, I connected with a lot of cool people, but I would say the majority of my audience were people who were less similar to me because social media is super intuitive for me. I've always been a consumer of it and I've always created, whether consistently or like, but so I would have a lot of like older people who were trying to figure out social media. Maybe they like had businesses or they didn't grow up with social media and they wanted to understand it. When I switched into lifestyle content and I started talking about my experiences as like a 20-something girl and changing my mind, figuring out my career, dating, whatever, I realized just by like clicking on people's profiles in the comments and people who were following me that it was starting to be a bunch of girls who I would hang out with.
You're like, I like you guys.
This is so cool.
You're like, wait, I like you guys so much.
Yes. And I will click on, I would say like so many people's profiles I click on, I'm like, oh my God, you are cooler than me. You have a cooler aesthetic than me. Like I should be aspiring to take pictures like you. And so I was like, I want to do something with that. And then I would see those videos on TikTok that are like high school in the 2000s, high school in the 80s. And no one was touching their phones. There was not a phone in sight. If they even had phones in the 80s, they obviously didn't. And everyone was just like goofing off and hanging out. And it would make me really sad. And I was like, I want hangouts like that. And I love making content. I love like the creative process of it. And I love connecting with people. And I see content all the time that improves my life or like provokes thought.
Totally.
That has a positive impact. But I don't want to just be online. Like I would love to do something real and cool and in person. And I knew from the stuff I was saying and the content I was sharing that other people felt the same way, that they wanted more real connection, more in-person experiences. And so, and I'm very active. I love a good runner's high. And I was just like,
and I love watching you online. I will not be participating.
Okay, but you don't have to run. You don't have to run. Our first one, we only had one so far. Just started when I moved here.
Love.
And
congratulations.
Thank you. It was so cool meeting people in person. And the group really split up just naturally by pace and how people wanted to, you know. And like half the group walked, which is totally cool because I just want it to be a way for people to connect socially anyway. Totally. It's not like an intense training situation. Totally.
Not like solid core.
Yeah, no. And we did a happy hour after.
And that was so cute. And I'm so glad that you did that. And I mean, so many cool lessons to take away from this. But yeah, I mean, it's so cool that essentially what you're doing is you're using social media to actually be social, not only in your content, but outside of the app. And it was obviously so successful. I think it's going to continue to be successful. Like I even told Jules, I was like, okay, so who's sponsoring your next one? Like, what are we going to do to get like real, like Jules Running Late pop-up events happening? Because I totally think it could happen. And I think the fact that it's tied to wellness and activity is perfect.
The brands love it too. And I'm so excited because I'm talking to people about sponsoring.
She's already doing it. Do you see?
Well, they reached out right away about it. And I think for several reasons. Also, the brands who are reaching out are like the coolest vibe. Really cool brands.
I bet.
And I think it's going to be so fun to actually be able to like share the experience of PR and like getting like involved with a brand with my audience, because you always see the brand trips and you see all the PR the influencers get, and you're just like the consumer on the other side of that. You're like, awesome, you just get everything for free.
Totally. Like I love watching you get so many cool things.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be so cool to actually be able to like share that with my audience. as they should. Like they're the consumers. We're
Totally.
all like consuming these brands. And I think it's cooler for the brands too. And I think we're actually going to see a shift in the way brands do stuff.
I agree.
We already have in the last like year or so seen brands do more activations where they'll have like maybe an influencer portion that's just for content.
Yeah.
But they're like opening up their activations to the public to make experiential marketing something for everyone.
And like to do like a crash course on the strategy behind this, and what's so powerful about this is that in your content you essentially primed us to come to your in-person events, even if you didn't think that these in-person events were going to happen before. The fact that you were so open about the struggles and the ugly moments, even the petty stuff. Like I remember you'll make content about like, I know it's dumb, but like that's just a thought I have. You know, you made content about wellness. Like it only made sense for you to do something like this, and it just fits so perfectly that your content primed us and matched what you're actually doing outside of the app, which is really hard for big influencers specifically, or even celebrities. Like think about a celebrity that has a random beauty brand, right? And the stuff in the beauty brand, I'm like, where did this come from? What happened here? It didn't prime me. It didn't make sense. I also think about the D'Amelios and their popcorn company, right? Had no idea. I was like, are you a snacker? Do you love popcorn? Like it didn't match.
I didn't know they had a popcorn company, and still people started critiquing it like recently.
My video? Yeah. So,
yes, you did, and a couple other people did.
There was
and I
a
was
really
like, they have a popcorn brand?
Yes, there was a really big creator who mentioned it, and I was like, oh yeah, like, and then people were like, wait, they have a popcorn company? And I was like, yeah, this happened like so long ago.
It did not fit, which to be fair, I justice for the D'Amelios maybe, because if you look back at all the different things that certain people who now crush it have done, I know Shay Mitchell had like some random stuff that she did that was like not as related and on brand as the stuff she does now, like with Base.
Totally.
And what is she also has the tequila seltzer company.
Oh, she does.
Yeah, and everything's super on brand and just like really well done now, and she crushes it. And then the Kardashians even. Like Kim tried music, like all the different fragrances,
Yes.
and like so many different ventures before it was like Skims. Like this is
Totally.
And so it's okay, I think, to mess up, and people should be okay with that as long as they like listen to their audience and learn from it.
Totally.
And it's okay to like take it back and be like, guys, I don't know what it was.
Guys, it was a flop. Sorry.
Another favorite creator you reminded me of, though, who I just adore, and I don't know how she didn't pop into my mind, is Monet McMichael.
Oh, duh. I mean,
I'm obsessed with her.
I mean, internet's it, girl.
She dropped sunglasses. That's what made me think of it.
I did, and she did the glam bot.
Yeah.
She slayed it. I was
she was
like,
so good.
listen, this is better than some of the
It was
other
made
ones.
for her.
She looks so good.
She's a star, born star.
She was born for it. She
Yeah.
really is. She is
She
one of
is
those
lifestyle.
people. Yes, she is one of those people that's like, just get her on camera. Like
Seriously.
no strategy. We can do the strategy for a product or something later.
I can't
but
think of many people, but like she could make a video talking about like types of grass, and I think I'd watch.
and I would still be,
But it's Monet.
come on, it's Monet. Like she really is that girl. Oh, we could talk about her
Totally.
for
But the
hours.
sunglasses were a good move, I think.
Those were perfect. I think over a makeup collab. I think
Yeah.
over
So cool and different.
I think over anything and it's so accessible too, which is exactly what her audience wants from her. Obsessed with her. We could be on and on for hours, but okay, I would love to ask any social media influencer icks.
Yeah.
Perfect. Spill the tea.
Oh God. Yeah. I made a little video about this the other day. So icks would be really, really obvious. Hooks, like you can feel people's energy through the screen. I think it's actually important to pregame your content when you're shooting. For me, I like to like think about the content that I'm going to make, or like give myself a second to wake up in the morning before I film a routine, listen to music I like, get in a good mood, like set the vibe right, do my journaling or something, and then turn on the camera because people can feel you through the screen. And so when you're desperate for views and for engagement and for your
Yes.
content to do well, people can
Yes.
feel that. Oh my God, you're never going to believe. And stop scrolling right now because like the hooks can't be so obvious. You definitely want to grab people's attention quickly because you don't have long. That's actually what I did in that first Revolve Fest vlog. I said, POV, you snuck into Revolve Fest and you're about to take full advantage.
Yes.
And I didn't sneak in. I was a +1, but I felt like I snuck in.
Yes.
And so that's how I set that up. I think you need to be a little sneakier with your hooks. It's an ick for me when people do exploit the other people in their lives. So when someone's content is straight up just their kid, like, do your mom content. I follow mom creators like Motto. Like I love to hear, I'm not a mom, but I love when she shares her like mom thoughts and experiences. But I don't want to see your kid just plastered on the screen all the time. I don't want to see you plastering your relationship all over your content.
And it's so hard, I think, for a lot of people because it works so well. And, you know, do what you want to do if you're good with it. Like, I know couple content does so well.
Totally.
But
I think Alex Earl actually does a really good job of going like as far as I would want someone to go with the couple content, because you definitely get their couple content, but it's not like constant. She's not making him do the trends and, oh my God, I hate the, babe, will you peel this orange? Will you get me an orange?
the orange.
Or like I saw one the other day that was like, okay, name a woman. That one I
Name a
didn't
Woman
think
one
was that bad.
I was actually going to ask my podcast editor
to name a woman,
to either name a woman or I was going to hand him an orange, but then he already saw all the trends, so it kind of ruined it.
Yeah.
I was trying to do the ExxonMobil prank on him and he let me talk forever and ever, and then by the time I was done he was like, Alyssa, I saw this already. And I went, oh damn it, you let me talk for 5 minutes.
That was kind of funny though. But I saw one that was like, would you rather like, I don't know, would you kiss the prettiest girl in the world for $1 million?
Yes.
I think that's just a horrible setup. That's not, I mean, you should get it, but if your mind is somewhere else and you just don't get the question, then I would be actually offended. So I don't like when people do that and they just like exploit their relationship. It's like, okay, it can be part of your content. You can share cute stuff, do like story times, do a couple trends. But when it becomes the full focus, like I want to see other parts of you in your life too.
Totally. I think Alex Earl now has done a better job than maybe when she went on the Call Her Daddy podcast, and when she was like, she definitely had a very messy era, but I feel like her relationship now, seeing it, I think she actually has more boundaries than she did before, which love to see her thrive.
Yeah.
Any last social media icks or influencer things that you're like, I just want to get rid of it?
I mean, the being a textbook thing is pretty icky to me now, which I think is so funny because, and you only said that analogy not that long ago, but I've been like obsessed with it. I'm like, someone put words to what I feel. So I love that. I mean, I feel like when you can tell that it's performative or like forcing good energy, I think that's kind of icky.
Yeah.
Or when people are just like too about the trends, I think that's gross. Or when people get really out of touch. I hate when people complain. I hate complaining in general. That's my pet peeve in life because I think it's like fix it or shut up.
It works so well on social media.
It can, yeah. It's an ick for me. I don't like the negative energy.
Totally.
And I don't like when people either like aren't very grateful or they just don't show gratitude.
Yeah.
I think it's super cute. Anna, the creator I like, I should pull up her. Can I pull up her Instagram
so
I know
please,
because I keep dropping her name and then like not really.
Yeah, and we'll put it in the show notes too.
Okay, thank you. Because I need to credit her, Anna Barger. Okay. So the other creator that I like, Anna Barger, I think does such a great job of showing her gratitude all the time when she gets to have cool experiences because of brands or she gets PR or whatever. She's always very grateful and she's like, this is so cool. It's so weird that I get to post my life and I get this. And I don't like when people lose sight of that or lose touch with that.
And it does not happen just every other one you see that happens.
And you're not cool for not getting excited.
Totally.
In life in general, but like about that stuff.
Totally.
If you get invited to Coachella by a brand, it's okay to be like, oh my God, that's so cool.
Rolling on the floor,
That's
jumping
so
up and
cool.
down on my roof.
Yeah. You don't have to be like, oh, well, it's work for me and like act used to it. I think that's so lame.
Yeah, that's okay. We can switch. Don't even worry about it.
Right? Like
Totally.
act excited. Show me that you're hype about that. I feel like there was one other thing I was going to say, but that might be it.
Okay. Well, I think that was a really good one to end off with because I think a lot of people, especially, I mean, whether you are taking content creation seriously or whether you're a really big influencer, we see it. It's so obvious. The camera is unblinking. So that's really, really important to like be grateful for, because this is how crazy is it that we can have entire careers on our laptops and on our phones, and it works, and we can monetize, and it's fun, and you can have these experiences. So I think that one was a good one to end off on. But did you just think of it?
I thought of it. Okay. It's just an extension of that, but it's basically I hate when people complain about being busy or like the things that they have to do as a content creator or how difficult it is. I think there are definitely difficulties people don't know about, and they're mostly emotional. Like you can get really emotionally exhausted sharing your life every day. But I don't think it's cool to be like, oh, I have such a busy day, or everything's been so crazy with travel, when there are people with so much more real struggles than that.
Totally.
And I don't know if it's because in a past life, worked as a nurse. I had other jobs and I knew more difficult things than content.
Yes.
But I'm now so grateful. Like the other day I had to call the doctor. I had to get car insurance. Mm-hmm. I had to like do all of these life admin tasks, and I could just do those during my Thursday, like the middle of the workday. I'm like, when do other people do this? Yeah. How do you keep up with your health and like everything that you need to do? So anyways, I think that you should maintain gratitude for that first, and also for the fact that if you are emotionally exhausted, you can tell your audience that and take a break, and no one cares. Mm-hmm. You can't always take time off your other job.
Totally. So, anyway. Period.
Be grateful.
Write that down. Okay, so I started to do this series on TikTok called The Public Roast. And it was one of the proudest pieces of content for, I believe, 4 or 5 episodes before TikTok decided to continuously flag them for quote unquote unoriginal content. Yeah. So we would hit the For You page for like a few minutes, and then it would be taken down for unoriginal content, because apparently it's because I was putting up other people's content that I was roasting.
Yeah.
But it was edited. It was curated so well. Me and my editor, like, we got this good workflow going. I really thought it was, and it was still to this day, it was so fun to do. And props to my community, because they still show up even though it wasn't on the FYP. They were like, Alyssa, we saw the story. We went right to your page. So love them for that. But I probably can't do them anymore because I think my entire account could probably get in trouble. But everybody sees people like me roast creators or provide suggestions. So I thought we would flip the script a little bit, and I want to ask you your insight, maybe a little roasting on me, because I think a lot of people think like, okay, educators and creators and influencers are kind of separate, but we very often have the same thoughts. I mean, we're working on the back end of 10 other accounts and then our own. So, and it's always just really nice to see what other people think. So I'm welcoming you to roast me.
Okay, it's going to be a very gentle roast, because you're truly one of probably 5 creators who, if I don't see on my For You page, like I'm going to your profile. I'm going to find your content. The algorithm cannot keep it from me.
I'm going.
And I have a couple like strategy folders of just like thoughts, ideas, like for when I'm not feeling inspired.
Yeah.
And you're like 80% of them. Stop. It's just so much of your content saved that I go back and look at it. So I don't have a lot of feedback. One thing, I mean, I would love to see more lifestyle stuff from you. You are so good with the aesthetics. And I feel, I mean, you live in a beautiful area in California. You meet so many cool people. There are so many cool things that you could showcase and like parts of your life you could share that I would personally be interested in. But I also like respect if you didn't want to. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like what? Like what do you want to see?
All of it.
My podcast editor?
I mean, yes.
My podcast editor who's obsessed with me. And the reason why we can film this. He's going to cut it out. He's going to cut this out later.
That's exactly what I want updates on. I mean, your personal life in general, your story, your things about your family, like everything that you have shared with me that makes you to me like a very cool, interesting, inspiring person, I think you could share.
I'm going to cry.
And I think people would be interested in that. And I have to actually pull up one of my friends' content later she switched somewhat from marketing and she's more lifestyle-y now.
Oh, okay, cool.
She switched into like giving people tutorials on how to do better, you know, editing and transitions and photo stuff. And
cool.
It turned into people being like, well, where's that outfit from? And,
Yeah.
you know, Sandy Lynn, I don't know if you've...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're mutuals.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Oh my gosh. Her, oh my gosh. I could do an entire podcast on her story too.
She's done an amazing transition.
Totally.
And yeah, I think you could totally do something similar to that where you bring us into like more of your life. Like one thing I did when I did the marketing content is I was constantly just like from here up is like what you would see.
Yes.
Like
Upper body only.
Up, yeah.
Yes.
And when I finally filmed something when I moved to New York where I was like standing and you could see my full body, everyone was like, oh my God, I didn't even know who this was at first. They're like, I don't recognize you when it's not like just a floating head.
You're like, I have legs.
Yeah. And so I think would love to see more of that from you. I would love to see more breakdowns of people and their content and like what has worked and what hasn't worked. And I don't know if you would run into the same issue as public roast. I used to do a lot of green screen breakdowns and not have issues. Maybe you could also do it as YouTube videos or, you know, like longer form.
We're working on it.
But I would love, like when I see a creator blow up, it's so fascinating. And I think that's part of what fascinates people with them and like gets that snowball rolling.
Yeah.
But like when Emily Kaiser blew up, or I mean, obviously the Alex Earl blow up. But like whenever you see that happen to a creator, I just want to be like, why? What about this person was so sticky? Like, what did they say? What did they do? Was it just their personality? And I always love your takes on that kind of stuff. So I'd love to see that.
Okay. Now I'm going to be, write that down. That's me right now with my notes.
Also with celebrities, like I would like to see,
Yes.
I want to see you cover, why did we all get so damn obsessed with Sophia Richie at once?
Yes.
I mean, cool wedding, beautiful, whatever, but like, what was like the timing of all that? It was so well orchestrated. Or like, I don't know, Tate McRae's blow up. Like I don't know.
Yes.
You know, I would love to see that kind of stuff.
I think I actually did a video on, you know what? I did do
Or did you do Renee Rapp?
I was going to do Renee. I did Tate.
Okay.
I did Tate. I'll send it to you.
I actually think that I might have seen that, and then I like wanted a longer form deep dive, and that's like what made me think of it.
Okay, perfect. I'll be working on that. But oh my goodness, thank you so much. I mean, we're working on it. We're a work in progress. YouTube is scary. If you have YouTube tips, let me know. Watching. Hopefully, I can bring like a version of the public roast back. It's just. It keeps getting flagged.
I think too, people would want to have conversations with you. Like if you started doing a bunch of creator deep dive stuff and that like got popular, you might be able to have said creators on as like guests.
Yeah, that could be cool.
Podcast guests. And I think that like it would also be really cool if you could do content where you interviewed clients that you've worked with. Because I've seen, and you're very good about not exposing them.
Totally.
But if anyone was ever willing to talk about the way you guys went about implementing strategies and what started working, I think that would be really cool.
Oh, and I do have a few local clients. So, love. Oh my gosh, look at me. I also benefit from this as well. So Jules is going to be the strategist for the strategist. Okay, so wrapping up this episode, so many good things. So I am going to rapid fire ask you some questions. Think hot ones, but like no wings.
I'm ready.
Because we didn't come prepared for that. Podcast editor, write that down next time. Okay, hot wings. Thank you. There's a restaurant right there. Thank you so much.
That would be so fun. Or like a version.
That would be hilarious.
What's a version of hot wings you could do?
That'd probably like wasabi sushi.
Yeah.
That's worse.
Yeah. That's a different kind of burn.
Yeah. Entertainment. Okay. So rapid fire questions. And you just go for it. Okay. Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram.
Do you think the TikTok ban will actually happen?
Yes, but I think they'll sell, so we'll get to keep the app.
Okay. If the TikTok ban does happen, though, how would you change your current social strategy? Whether it's jumping on a platform.
Yeah. I almost wouldn't. I mean, I'm really trying to prioritize YouTube this year, but I've already shifted a lot of my focus to Instagram just because people are getting more into Reels now.
Totally.
It's kind of the same content in two places. And then what I love about Instagram is like your community actually sees your content.
Totally.
And stories are just such an amazing way to connect with everyone.
Oh, yes. That could be a whole podcast episode. Okay. One thing about We just talked about this, and I'm going to make you do your own pet peeve. One thing about being a content creator that you don't like.
Not being able to throw my phone in a lake. Like, I honestly think I would I would like nearly be an off the grid person if I didn't like the creative process of making content and connecting with people so much.
Love. Okay, favorite lip product? The hardest question.
I have so many. Makeup Forever, Anywhere Caffeine.
Okay. Oh, love. Okay, would you date another creator?
No. The fastest and most definitive answer.
One. Okay, would you at least would you at least go on a date with another creator if they asked if they post thirst traps?
No. Oh, but I won't go on a date with a non-creator who posts thirst traps. Absolutely not. That is for the girls.
What if it's only one thirst trap?
How artfully done is it? It can't be a mirror selfie. It can't be like
there's lights.
No. No, I don't even follow female creators generally who post very thirst trappy content. I'm just like not about the obsession with oneself or one's image.
You're not about that 3-part thing that you said. What is it? We follow creators that we want to be their friends, we want to be like them, and we want to F them. You're not for that.
I mean, I am to an extent. I think there's nothing we love more than seeing hot girls do ugly shit.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And
Monet.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, like all the creators I listed who are my favorite, they're actually all gorgeous and they have really cool style and
they're
not
have
afraid
an aesthetic to like do the ugly stuff.
Right, but they let you see them ugly. They have better perspective on life, it seems, and they're like more in it for the experience and the personality.
Totally. Love. Okay, go-to karaoke song?
Hypnotize.
Oh,
Notorious
okay. So that's up next. And then one thing about yourself that gives it girl energy.
Oh my God, I feel like I can't claim that.
No, you have to. One thing you just love about yourself.
Something. Well, I mean, I can say something I like about myself. I don't know if it gives it girl energy.
It gives it girl energy.
You can be
now.
you can be the energy.
Okay.
You're the judge of that. But I think I've always been really good about, you know, the quote from The Office, I wish there was a way to know when we're in the good old days before the good old days are over.
Totally, I know that.
Okay, well, if you didn't, I mean, it's just like about gratitude and presence. It's like we never know till we look back and we're like, damn, that was the good old days. I think literally since I have memories that start very early, like 2-3 years old. Oh. And since then, I've been good at knowing I'm in in good times that I'm going to eventually miss. I'm very good with the gratitude.
You totally are. You totally are. Okay, love. And then the last thing, not rapid fire anymore. What are the hot girl habits that we need to be prioritizing in 2024?
Ooh, sleep.
Yes.
Peace.
Sleep.
No time for negative energy. You don't have to reply to everything. Nothing's going to happen. I mean, I actually need to be better at sometimes sending like short replies because I'll just like leave people on read as a reminder and then it doesn't remind me because everything's on read.
Right.
But I think that honestly just like sleep and peace and just lowering your stress. I've interviewed honestly so many doctors and like biohackers, health people, trainers, everything. The number one thing is always stress. Moving your body in ways that you enjoy and that make you feel good. And prioritizing fitness and wellness and taking care of your body for that reason. Yeah. Fuck the aesthetics. The aesthetics will follow.
It's like an after. It's like a nice bonus.
Exactly. It's a bonus that you get for taking care of yourself and you're going to like the way you look and feel better, I'm sure. But when you're focused on the aesthetics, it's just never long-term motivation.
Totally.
So I think those
write that down.
Yeah, your peace.
Write that down. Sleep, peace, good vibes, and hot girls that do ugly things. We love.
Yes. Be a hot girl who does ugly things.
Love. Oh my goodness. Well, I hope you took some notes. I know we talked about so much, not only Signature Style series, but lifestyle creators, life, wellness, all the things. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you laughed a little bit. Jules, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having
Let me know to you listening what you thought about this episode on Instagram at Inspired Media Co. But of course, I'll see you on the next one. And as always, break a leg.